viewer contributions make local programming possible on WNIN. Become a member of WNIN with your contribution so we can continue to make this programming available. Visit WNIN.org and click on the donate button.
So I am very happy to be here to speak on behalf of the wonderful work that we are doing in the EVSC. And before I get started, I do want to shout out the EVSC crew over here to my left. All of my friends are here to support, and our new superintendent, Dr. Darla Hoover, is here to support as well. So the title of my presentation is It Takes a Village, the Power of School, Family, and Community Connections. The goals for today is to discuss what is family and community engagement. It just says in the EVSC, but just in general. 21st Century Learning Centers. I'm going to talk about after-school programs, site council meetings, talk a little bit about the data and statistics about our 21st century programs, and then how just everyone can get involved. I know a lot of you are already involved, but just some different ways that you can support. And so engagement is in the word family engagement for a reason. So we're gonna do a quick little exercise to get you guys engaged, okay? So if you have a cell phone, I know everybody has a cell phone, right? Raise your hand. So this is just a joy maker. This is a connecting activity. Myself and my coworker, Kim McWilliams and Dan Deal, we did a presentation at the national conference in Minnesota this past May about collaboration. And so I adopted this. I'll go ahead and give them some credit. I adopted this from the conference. Or maybe I stole it, I'm not really sure. So, but these three individuals, they are what brings me joy. It's my daughter, Mackenzie, she's 16. She thinks she's in charge. Paisley, she's 10. She really thinks she's in charge. And then that little one, his name's Austin, he's 3. And so that is my joy, that is my motivation. That is the reason that I choose to be a positive role model to them and to be engaged and do the work that I do as a civil servant in our community. They are what brings me joy. And this is also the same level of joy that I get whenever I'm doing family and community engagement work, not just in the EVSC, but out in the community as well. So you guys are probably like, well, what is the exercise? So I want you to pull your phones out and find one picture of someone who brings you joy and turn to your neighbor for about 30 seconds and just talk about that individual that brings you joy. Now, didn't that feel good? That is the same level of joy that we have for our families, and that's the same level of joy, hopefully, that we all have for our school community as well. And if you would like, you can adopt this exercise. Just make sure you give me some credit. Okay. So how many of you have heard of this, those two words up there on the board? Okay. So those two words are pronounced Kasarian and Gera, and it means how are the children? These two words, this is the translated version from the Maasai Warriors tribe over in Africa. So whenever we all walk up to each other and we greet each other and we shake hands and we say, how are you? Over in the Maasai Africa's tribe, they say Kasarian and Gera, which means how are the children? So the children are at the forefront of the conversation, the community, because they know that when the children are well, when the children are thriving, our community thrives. And so keep this question in mind as I go throughout my presentation. And hopefully you learned some new language today as well. So what is family and community engagement? So family and community engagement is an equitable and meaningful partnership among family, students, stakeholders, educators, students, and community members that promote academic and social development from cradle to career. So we in the EVSC, we don't just try and get our kids, you know, we don't just want them to graduate. We want to take care of them from, of course, not birth, but we work with community partners like Pre to 3, who actually work with children and families ages 0 to 3. But when they come to us, ages 3 and 4 years old, those are some very meaningful years. And so when we say cradle to career, we mean from a baby through high school. So about the EVSC, just our mission, vision, and our core values. Our vision is empowering students to thrive in life. We want to prepare every student to excel in a global society. And also our core values, heart. We have high expectations for our students. We want to provide accessible opportunities while being very empathetic to our students, accountability, respect and relationships, and trust. And so this is something that we deeply value in our district. As you can see, family and community engagement. Well, these are our 3 commitment goals in our district. About 2.5, 3 years ago, you can see some of the people in the background. We all came together with family, students, educators, community members, to think about our continuous improvement plan for our district. So basically, what are some things that we can get better at in our district? And we wanted to hear the voice of the people. So these were 3 things that came to the forefront: learning and achievement for every student, family and community engagement, and growing, supporting, and diversifying talent. And so as we know, family and community engagement is integrated into every single facet of learning. But for the community to lift this as an area that we can grow in as a district, of course, I was very happy to hear that, because that's an area that we would love to grow in. And so these are our 3 commitment goals. They can also be found on our EVSC website. So family and community engagement is something that we are taking very serious, although we know it's integrated into every facet of learning. As you can see, this is our infographic, our logo for our district, family, school, and community, with the students in the center. We're very proud of it. This is new for us this year, and this is just something that we feel embodies the work that we are doing. These are actually some pictures I borrowed from EVSC's Facebook page. Jason, I'm sure he won't be mad at me, but I borrowed these from our Facebook page. And as you can see, we have a very diverse group of students who attend who go to school in our district, and we're very, very proud to serve all of these students. We have about almost 23,000 students in the EVSC, and we have over 50 different languages that are spoken in the EVSC as well. And so we have a growing culturally diverse population of students that we are very proud to serve in our district. So family engagement, most people think that it's the goal. It's the goal, it's the overarching thing. It's very important, but the goal is always student achievement. Our students, they can't achieve, they can't excel without our families. And so family and community engagement is a strategy, but the goal is for family and community engagement to really cultivate academic excellence for all of our children. And we know that without our families, without our community partners, it'll be hard for our students to really adhere to our mission, vision, and core value of academic excellence. So this is one of my favorite pictures right here, because I get to sit in a lot of meetings, and I know some of my coworkers can attest to this. They probably want to get up and start praise dancing, but don't do that right now. I sit in a lot of different meetings when it comes down to family and community engagement. Academics, bus transportation, attendance, all of these different meetings. And the overarching theme is engagement. So whenever we sit in these meetings and we're talking about community partners, when we're talking about families, the number one thing that we're trying to do is engage our families. And so it's just very important that we really understand that engagement is the ultimate goal that we are trying to achieve. No matter what raindrop you are, engagement is the overarching theme. I do have a coworker here. I'm going to embarrass her a little bit. Her name's Carlotta Patterson. She is the director of our Extended Day Center, and she does a wonderful job. We sit like an arm's length away in our little cubicles. We don't have an office, but we have a cubicle. We're very proud of our cubicles. And just when you think about engagement, she does a wonderful job with the extended day. That's our before and after care. So our kids come to school before, and then their parents go to work, and parents work extended hours and they stay a little longer. But she always has a waiting list in most of her schools because she's super organized and very structured. And so therefore, we do have a lot of families who are unable to get into our program. She takes a lot of kids in, but we do have a waiting list. And I say all that to say, she is using her resources to really engage our community partners. I get to hear her talk to families and say, hey, although we may be full, you can call this number, which is Building Blocks. That's one of the community partners that she always talks about. So she gives our families, we don't like to tell our families no. We like to go above and beyond for our families, and she exhibits that on a regular basis. And that is the power of partnership. I know Building Blocks really appreciate when we when we send families to them because they have vouchers and so on and so forth. So that's just another connection with EVSC and our community partners and some of the things that we do to go above and beyond for our families. Great job, Carlotta. Sorry, I apologize. So when you think about family and community engagement, we use evidence-based practices. So Dr. Karen Mapp, I've actually met her several times. She's a professor at Harvard University, and she's the founder of this framework right here. This is also a framework that we utilize in the EVSC when we're thinking about how we can really engage and be intentional with our families. She talks about, the challenges with some of our families, some of the essential conditions, and then the outcomes that we are trying to achieve. One of my favorite things about this framework is she really talks about how we should work with our families as co-creators and co-producers when you think about family and community engagement. She talks about how we should walk alongside of our families and not basically tell our families what to do. And she talks about the decisions that we are making, the family should be helping to inform the different decisions. And so this is the dual capacity framework. You can look it up online. It's an evidence-based framework, and it's used nationwide in a lot of our schools, and when you think about family and community engagement. So some people think that parent involvement and parent engagement are the same thing. So involvement is a little different. Involvement is when parents take part in activities already determined by the school, or they're coming to the school, they're attending, they're volunteering, and they're helping out with homework. But engagement is it's different. Engagement is when Carlotta Patterson is talking to our families, and she is providing them with additional resources to help them get their needs met. Engagement often is when our families when they become part of the decision-making process, when they're helping us to think about like the classroom and what that looks like, or when they're helping us to think about the school building or academics, or what family and community engagement looks like. So our engagement is really when we bring our families in and when we allow them to be part of the decision making. Engagement, some people don't believe that we can have families who are engaged that never comes to the school. Like, it's possible. We have a lot of families who work with their kids at home, and that's also considered engagement. We have families who are unable to come to school because of transportation issues, so on and so forth. So I say all that to say you don't have to actually come to the school physically as a parent to be engaged. We do have a lot of parents who are engaged that are at home. And so that's a misconception, is if you don't step foot in the school grounds that you are not an engaged parent. So we do have a lot of parents who are engaged who actually don't come to the school, but they do a lot of things behind closed doors to get their students to where they need to be, or they're communicating, texting, emailing, all the different ways with teachers in the classroom. And so engagement, we lead with a listening ear. We listen to what our parents, our families are thinking about, worrying about, and we are actually actively making those changes so that we can ensure that their children has the supports that they need. So this is one of I guess I have a lot of favorite graphics because I've already said that. So Community cultural wealth is another framework with Tara Yoso, someone who I use in my research. And she talks about our families from an asset-based mindset. Sometimes it's easy for some people to talk about families based off of their deficits, what they don't have. But I choose, and us in the EVSC, we choose to think about the wealth of our families. And this framework talks about aspirational, linguistic, resistant, navigational, social capital, familial capital. So all of these different things, all of these different variables about our students actually brings wealth, brings value to our neighborhoods, our communities, our classrooms. Ooh, if you speak a different language, that brings value to our classroom. Your families, resistant, that means that we may have some students who may not agree, aspirations, all of these different things are capital and value. And in the EVSC, we try and embrace those differences that makes us better as a school community. I have a picture of the brain. I'm not gonna get too much into neuroscience because I'll bore you guys. But we also think about our families from a holistic standpoint. We know that some of our families are going through certain things, and that increases their emotional, their stress load. And so when you think about holistically, we look at the whole child. And so we do take into consideration the brain and how stress and when our students' biological needs are not being met, when they come to class and they're hungry, or if they didn't sleep last night, or if they have a parent who's incarcerated, all those different things, we take all of those things into consideration, and we understand what that does to the brain for some of our students. And so we try and mitigate and ensure that we are putting buffers and supports in place for all of our students and our families as well. So some of the benefits of family and community engagement, and this is all research-based, is improved two-way communication, not that one-way communication. That's where the school is contacting the families is contacting the school, and that ongoing communication is happening both ways. We know that when families and communities are involved, students earn higher grades and test scores, they enroll in higher level programs, attendance increases, and so does their motivation. I know that when my kids know that I'm coming to an event or so on and so forth, most of the time they get excited. And better social skills and behavior, So all of this is research. When our families and our community is involved, these are some of the improvements that we see and that we want in our students. So today, I'm gonna really, as I continue, family and community engagement is really broad, but I really wanna focus your attention on our 21st Century Learning Center programs. So we actually have 18 21st century programs in the EVSC. And I'll read the definition just in case some of you have never heard of 21st Century Community Learning Center programs. These are federally funded after-school and summer programs in the U.S. They're designed to give students, especially those in underserved communities, a safe, supportive place to grow and learn outside of regular school hours. So we are very fortunate in the EVSC. We have 18 federally and state-funded 21st century sites that host after-school programs. I do want to say we have 40 schools in the EVSC. All of our schools have after-school robust programs. But some of them are federally funded and some of them are not. And typically with our 21st century programs, these are schools that may require more assistance as far as test scores and being underserved with limited resources, so on and so forth. And this is just a flyer. Some of our schools are listed on this flyer. And so we're very fortunate to be able to be a grant-funded program to have 18 21st century after-school programs. You really don't hear districts having 18 sites. I'll give you a little insight. When I go to Indianapolis every year for the mandatory meeting, the EVSC, the spokesperson always tells the audience, well, the EVSC, they're in a land of their own because they have 18 sites. Nobody else has 18 sites. A lot of schools have 1 to 5, but nobody has 18 sites. So we're very fortunate to be able to blend and braid funding in our district from different places so that we can ensure some of our more schools that are in support and need have these after-school programs. So just some statistics, 1.4 million are roughly served student and families across the nation with after-school programs. 85% public schools offer after-school programs, and then there's about 1.3 billion that's spent out of over 10,000 sites for after-school programs. So the theory of change when you think about after-school programs is if you attend 60 or more days in high-quality evidence-based after-school programming over the school year, then they will improve, maintain satisfactory academic performance and or have fewer school day absences, because research has demonstrated that youth who regularly participate in high quality after school programs have fewer day absences and or higher levels of academic performance compared to those attending less frequently. So this is just the theory of change that we want to see in our after school programs, and this is actually happening. We are having a lot of success with our students excelling academically because of a lot of the after school programs that we are providing at the 18 sites. So the benefits of after school programs, 69% of students improve their homework completion and class participation, improve grades in 1 and 2 students reading and 1 and 3 in math. Programs, we know that chronic absenteeism nationwide since COVID is an area that a lot of school districts are working to improve. We as well, we are continuing to improve our practices as well. But we know that when we have students in after-school programs, when there's a program that they are motivated by, they're going to want to come to school. And so we're seeing improvement in attendance because we are providing programs that our students are actually interested in. Our parents, 73% of parents say after-school programs help build social skills, confidence, responsibility. Our programs consist of literacy, STEM, art, dance, sports, all the different things. And one of my favorite statistics is the last one. I think I saw Chef Robinson. No one here. Peak hours for youth crime are between 3 and 6, and after-school programs help to lower that. And so that is why after-school programs are so important. It gives our kids an opportunity to be in a safe, nurturing environment instead of being out in the streets getting in trouble. And so that is something that we want to continue to sustain and cultivate moving forward. This number right here is something we're very proud of. We served close to 2,000 students last year in after-school programs in the EVSC across our 18 sites. Something we're very, very proud of. And we want to continue to grow that number. Deal Consulting Group, he's our local evaluator. He will tell you, a lot of people know him, but we are seeing a lot of success, again, in our 18 sites with after-school programs. So these are some pictures. Every after-school program has a community learning center coordinator. Those individuals are funded by the federal and state government, and they actually facilitate these after-school programs. And they work closely with me. And they all do a wonderful job at being very creative and innovative with ensuring that we are creating programs that academic excellence, right? We have tutors, we have chess. These are some actual pictures from our 18 sites. We have salsa dancing, cheer, lots of different things, lots of different programs that we offer that we're very, very proud of. There was a painting exercise at North Junior High School, and with the flags on the wall, that's a picture at Vogel School, where it's a multicultural club, where where the community learning center coordinator actually took prints of their actual feet, and that shows them walking to different cultures, different countries. One of my favorite pictures as well. And then there's a picture on your right of the bus drivers. One of the things with 21st century after-school programs is bus transportation is included for all 1,900 of our kids. That's part of the grant. And so, again, the goal for 21st Century Programs is to eliminate barriers for our families. And so bus transportation, the bus drivers are so nice. They're so critical. They're so patient. And whatever we ask them to do, their ultimate goal is making sure they get them home safe. They're calling parents, they're talking to parents, they don't drop kids off at home without family being there. I mean, they are amazing. And we have bus drivers, yes, to support with dropping off over 1,900 kids in our programs. Very, very happy about that. So these are we in the EVSC, we can't do it alone. So in our after school programs, we have community partners, we have staff that are actually running these programs. So we have teachers. A lot of our teachers, they teach after school programs, which is excellent because our students are familiar with our art teacher or their math teacher or whoever's tutoring. And so a lot of those teachers, they actually come and teach in after school programs. And we have community partners as well who come in. We have YMCA. This list is very minute. Girl Scouts, Evansville Promise Neighborhood, Memorial Church, Young and Established, SEMA. We have so many different people who are supporting in after-school programs to keep them going, because earlier I talked about the village, and it does take a village. We have our parents, they come in and they provide learning experiences for the students based off of their careers. Some of them may be physicians, some may be art teachers or mechanics or whatever it is. They come in the classroom during after-school programs and they talk about what they're doing. And so we just have a variety of community partners, tools, what to call, Jackie, tools for teaching. They actually support our teachers in the EVSC. I believe they give them discounts and things like that. So it takes a village, guys. And we're very, very proud of the village that WRAP supports around so that we can ensure that our students are getting a comprehensive after-school programs in the EVSC. The moment you guys have been waiting for. Patiently. So how do you get involved? So these are logos of our current funded, again, all 40 of our schools have after-school programs, but these are the 21st century programs that I've been focused on today. So these are just logos of the schools who are providing support in after-school programs for our students. AIS is on there. They're not a 21st century program, but they do have a site council. And so, if you are wanting to get involved in some of our after-school programs, our site council meetings, these are the schools. Like I talked about earlier, there's a community learning center coordinator. They basically facilitate after-school programs, and they can provide you with more information. Do we have any bossy bulldogs in the house? Because everywhere I go, I know there's bossy bulldogs in the house. So our superintendent is a bossy bulldog. So we have each one of these schools, there's a site council meeting. If you would like to attend, the principal is there, the community learning center coordinators, family, students, parents, all of them come to the school site council meetings. They sit around the table and they talk about the school improvement plan. So each school has a school improvement plan. So Bosse, Lincoln, Vogel, there may be some similarities with the school improvement plan. Of course, academics probably is number one, which it should be. But there also may be attendance. There may be, they may want to enhance family and community engagement. But each one of these schools has a site council meeting that you guys can attend if you would like. And at that particular school, once a month, you sit down at a table. You see the little wheel up there. You sit down at a table and you talk about what are the needs of Bosse? What are the needs of Vogel? What are the needs of Stringtown? How can we support your school so that it can get to the level that you are wanting? And then volunteering, of course, you can volunteer in the EVSC. A lot of people don't know, so I put this statistic in there. In the EVSC, we have one teacher, one counselor, and one nurse at every school. Did you guys know that? And so we're very, very proud of that collaboration as well. And I don't know why I put one teacher, but that's duh. One counselor and one nurse. I just wanted you guys to laugh, that's all. No, that's a typo. You guys can volunteer. If our schools don't have site council meetings, they have PTA meetings. All 40 of our schools have a PTA or site council. Some of them have PTA and site council. So there's lots of ways that our community partners, our families can get involved. And then we have our family and community voice meetings. These are once a month for our families who may not feel comfortable attending school board meetings. And so this is just another way that we allow our families' voices to be heard, is at the family community voice meetings. So I'm a little bothered by that one teacher, but I'll be okay. So my advice is that, this is Dr. Karen Matt. This is a quote from her, is my advice is that we see our families and community members as co-creators and co-producers of the excellent schools and learning opportunities that we want for all of our students. So a few questions that I want to leave you all with today, just for you to ponder. How are you or we building our own individual capacity about family and community engagement? What does that look like for us as individuals? How are families building their capacity about family and community engagement? How are educators building their community about family and community engagement and staff? And how are our communities as a whole, like how are we building our capacity about who lives in our community? What are the needs of our community? And how can we all come together collectively to wrap around the supports to ensure that our community is alive and thriving? So earlier, well, let me back up and say, before we get to this, before I close out, that a lot of those 18 schools, or all of those 18 schools, are funded, right? And we know that funding doesn't last forever. We know that. And so funding does expire. And so when and if funding do expire, can you imagine those programs going away for close to 2,000 kids? Like, that's not what we want. And so if something like that does happen, we are so community rich and resource rich in Evansville, Indiana, that what does it look like for us to wrap supports around our schools as families, as communities, as educators? Like, what does it look like for us to continue to maintain those programs, because we know what the data shows about our students when they are in after-school programs. And so hoping that the funding doesn't dissipate. We can't predict the future, but just thinking about what it looks like for us to all collectively come together so we can maintain that type of funding and continue comprehensive programs, particularly in some of our underserved schools. So earlier I asked you guys a question, Kasera and Gara, and I asked for you to think about this question as I present it. Sapati and Gara, does anybody want to take a stab at what that means? Don't Google, don't chat GPT, I'm watching. You're not supposed to answer. Yes, so Sapati and Gara means all the children are well, right? So we want to continue to keep the question in mind, and how are the children? Because we know that when our community is well, when we have programs such as after-school programs, that we will see thriving communities in Evansville, Indiana, and we're going to see our children and our families thrive as well, and that is what we want. I survived, yes. So if you have any questions, I give you permission to call me. And yeah, reach out to me. I love the work of family and community. I recognize at age 14 that this work is not about me, it's about student and families. My first job at 14 was I worked at the Boys and Girls Club in Springfield, Illinois, because I've always known that I wanted to work and be part of community. And so please, if you have any questions about ways to get involved, reach out to me. I'm here to support. And so I believe at this time I will allow for questions.
Yes, thank you,
and
Dr.
answers
Brooks.
maybe.
All right, anyone have any questions for Dr. Brooks? Thank you for that presentation. I was looking forward to it. And you said there are 23,000 kids in EBSC, is that
Yes.
correct? And about 2,000. So what would be the goal? Can you accommodate more kids? I just wondered, how does it, and kind of the age group, so just to see if you could get more kids involved.
Of course. So, yes, we can accommodate more students. We need people to actually work the programs. The more people that we get involved who are willing to actually work in the programs, the more kids we can get to participate in programs. I'll give you an example. Kays Elementary, they have a very robust program. And last year they had 200 kids on the waiting list at Kays Elementary. They had their open house a couple of days ago, and the Community Learning Center coordinator was able to register 70 families at open house for after-school programs because the families were super, super excited, and they know they got to get in early or they're going to be on a waiting list. So if we can get the people, community partners, more educators, our educators are tired and so on and so forth, but we do get a lot of participation. So the more people we get, the more participation. And there is, of course, like a budget per school and things like that. But that's where, when we have community partners who come in and just want to provide resources and so on and so forth, our programs are able to grow. So yes, we can serve more students. And 1,900 is a lot, actually. But we would love to serve more and not have waiting lists at some of our schools. Great question. Yes, sir.
You're doing wonderful work, but I wonder what happens. Do you have a plan B if the federal and state funding do go away?
Ooh, okay. All right. So my superintendent just left. She needs to come back. Of course, we've had conversations. That's a great question. I knew somebody was gonna ask me that. But we've had conversations about being innovative and coming up with a contingency plan so that we can ensure that our families have the supports that they need. And that contingency plan, of course, we're going to do everything that we can in the EVSC, but that plan is our community members. It's our community partners. It's people who have different resources. Us not going to the same partner who's providing all of the same resources, but going to other places and seeking out resources. And so Dr. Darla Hoover, from the very start, she has talked about the importance of family and community. She knows the importance of our after-school programs. She's committed as well to figuring out how we can sustain them. Of course, the funding is a big part of it, and we've been fortunate for 25 years in the EVSC. We're one of the districts who actually started community schools across the nation with Kathy Gray. Some of you may know Kathy. You guys know? Okay. So Kathy Gray, she started community schools over 25 years ago. And so we've become a model across the nation. Whenever I go to Washington, D.C., and I'm sitting at the table, I'm always amazed at how people know who the EVSC is because of Kathy Gray and community schools. And so I will say that we have a committed superintendent, and we have a committed community that hopefully, if that happens, we can figure out how to sustain programs. We're optimistic. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Am I right in understanding you saying that we have in the EVSC family of students 26 languages represented?
50.
50.
Yes, sir.
Goodness, I'm amazed.
Yes, we have, and we have the director of MLL here, Jackie Barnett. But we have over 50 languages in the EVSC. Spanish is number one. Haitian Creole is number two. And then Marshallese is number three. And we also have quite a few Russian, Ukrainian, Japanese, Vietnamese, and French-speaking students. So those are more of the ethnicities that we're seeing as far as growing in our district. But yes, sir, you are correct. For 50 plus languages. Did I answer your question?
Those are 7 languages.
And we have some students, they speak 4 languages. What did he say? Oh, he said first language. Yes, English is, well, maybe their second language, but we have some students who speak Creole, French, Spanish, and English. Yes. So, but English is their second language for most of them. Yes. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Ternisha.
We know each other.
Great job today, and great job with all the work you're doing for the school corporation.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. And I'd just like to comment on your Plan B, and I'd like to suggest that it become part of Plan A, and that is more community involvement. As you know, I've been involved some at Glenwood School, and I first of all was shocked by what I saw when I got there. Secondly, I can't tell you how good I feel about the reaction of some of the kids to the work I do with them. And thirdly, when you show all those people that are part of the after-school programs, they're not getting paid. So funding is not an issue for all those volunteers. It's just somebody stepping up and saying, okay, I'm part of the village. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Dr. Brooks.
Okay. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.